How much Christmas crack can you have before you OD?
I don't feel good anymore. I don't.
That's why I had to put it over there.
Yeah, I don't feel good.
I know when I eat it at home, I just take one piece from the fridge and go sit on the couch. Like there's no world where you can put it behind you because you're like, oh, I'll just break off a tiny piece of this one, and then it's just continuing to break off.
It's like Doritos. If you sit
My
with the
stomach
bag,
hurts.
you're gonna
It's
eat
really
the whole
good.
bag.
Yeah, I'm excited to try it with the fruit
My
in it.
stomach hurts.
Sit on down and pour yourself a glass.
And tune into your favorite podcast.
Where things will be misquoted.
And opinions ain't sugar-coated.
Cause DJ and Kelly are locked and probably loaded.
Hey guys, welcome to Locked and Probably Loaded with DJ and Kelly. I'm your host, DJ Qualls, and I'm here with my good friend and co-host, Kelly Blackheart. Hey Kelly, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
It seems like only 5 minutes ago that we recorded another episode. I started the last one pretty dead inside, and now I'm perked back up, and I'm excited about trivia tonight, and I'm excited that Ty's taking care of that trip.
Yeah.
I feel positive toward S99 marketing.
That's a good joke.
I
You
wouldn't
should
go
do that
far.
on stage.
I do not feel positive toward them. Nothing's happened because we just told you what was going on. But S99, we ain't nobody's hoe. Kelly, what's on your heart today?
Not a whole. I'm very excited for trivia. Amanda's coming.
I really like Amanda a lot. I wish you guys could know Amanda.
Yeah, she's great. I mean, you can. She's got a podcast called We Signed an NDA.
I didn't even know I was setting her up for that. I'm good at podcasting.
Yeah, she's a great human. And her co-host, Anne, was Tom Sandoval's old assistant. If any of you watch Vanderpump Rules, they're really sweet people.
Are they talking? We signed an NDA. Are they talking about shit they shouldn't be talking
No,
about?
I think I talked about it on here before because I guested on it. But basically, they have a podcast where they're interviewing people that work in entertainment, but kind of in assistant type positions or whatever to get a more. It's like
right.
every interview is with celebrities, right? And celebrities either are really honest about their experiences, like you are, or they forget that other people also do work around them.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like,
so I like the second. I mean, I like delusional people. It's the hardest thing I've ever done in my whole life.
yeah, there are some people who forget that there are a lot of people that make your life a lot easier and make things go. So they do a lot of interviews with people who are assistants or
Being
writers
a celebrity
or whatever.
assistant must be awful.
Oh, I know.
I've had assistants on movies before, and it stresses me out and makes me feel so bad. I'm like, can you go get this tub of ice cream for me? I've been really craving that. I feel like such a piece of shit.
I feel that all the time too. Like if I hire somebody to come to my house, and like when I first moved into my house, there was like work that needed to be done, and so there were people that I paid like I think it was $400 for the day or whatever. But then I felt guilty.
Did you like TaskRabbit it? I want to try
can't-
TaskRabbit.
It was me.
No, I hired somebody to do like a full day of
really?
stuff, but I then felt guilty about like adding things on. But I'm like, Kelly, don't feel guilty. Like this is
You're
a
paying
day
them.
rate. You
Yeah.
have somebody for the entire day. But I always feel guilty about that. Like if I have somebody to come over and clean, which is very rare, if I see something that they didn't do, I'm like, fuck it, I'll just do that later.
Yeah.
Like even though I've paid the money, I feel really guilty
You
asking
missed that
people
wad
to
of dog vomit in the middle of the floor.
Yeah.
I'll just pick that up later.
Somebody recently where I came home and I was like, oh, the bed's not made. All the sheets are sitting on top of the bed where I put them.
Did they just leave it there?
Yeah.
I can't have cleaning people touching my bedding, not because I don't like them. It's just my bedding, my laundry, or my dishes, because those three things, I guess, growing up were the things I hated the most: making my bed, doing the laundry, and doing the dishes. And I look at them as punishments. And so when people come to my house and try to do them, like it gives me, when I'm having a party at my house and somebody starts to try to fucking wash dishes, like it freaks me out. I'm like, go sit over there. You're being nice to me, and it's weird.
Yeah, but sometimes people like to do that stuff as an
know.
act of love.
I know, it just, I think I never realized it until right now that I must view it as a punishment because it was a punishment for me. My parents did not get a dishwasher until I went to college.
Yeah.
And then they got a fucking dishwasher like the next week.
I feel similarly because cleaning is not something I enjoy doing, but some people really fucking like it. And so if you want to come over and clean any part of my house because that's something you enjoy, then please. Like, there was one time that Mylene and Grant were in town, and I think I was at work or something like that, and I come home and Mylene had like reorganized the entire pantry, and it looked perfect, and things were like in little baskets and all that stuff. And she enjoys that
And
stuff.
3 months later, you were staring at an organized pantry, dirty and starving. Like, I can't touch anything in there.
I know. Right? I was like, I don't want to mess
go
it
in
up.
there.
I don't want to mess it up.
Do you clean before your cleaning lady comes? Or cleaning person?
I did.
Unfortunately.
I used to. I don't have a cleaning person anymore. I just have, like I said, sets of orange cones. I just put up around everything.
I only get a cleaning person before my parents come because it's like the rooms that I don't normally go in or whatever. I just want to make sure that they get a deep clean and all that stuff. And just the standards are higher because it's their house. And so I'm like, I want them to feel like I keep it.
At some point,
nice.
you need one, though, because, like, if you have avoidance issues or any sort of like ADHD or any of that, and you build up, and I'm speaking as someone who doesn't have ADHD, but it's probably looking like I might, you build up unnecessary blocks against things, and you're like, it is so easy to go do that. It's so easy to go do this one task, but you don't.
Mm-hmm.
And when you finally force yourself to do it, you get so like, oh my god, why did I do that? Okay, oh my gosh, you do this all the time. Then the next thing,
that moment
yeah.
fades.
At some point, it can get to a place where even if you spend a day cleaning and that looks good, then you're like, oh my god, then I have to do this.
I have to continue doing this.
Yeah, for a long time. And so sometimes
Forever.
people just need help.
Is this going to be forever?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
If you lose the will to live during a normal task, I think it's okay to farm it out.
Yeah, I agree. Like, there are certain things that I am not either good at or don't enjoy. Like, and also when it comes to, like, for instance, if I want to clean out my closet, I know that I can't do that in one day because I get so fucking distracted by everything. Like, and the way that I try to reorganize is I take everything out and put it on my bed, and then I sit there and I go, oh my god, I haven't seen this in forever.
Me too.
And then I look through a fucking photo album from college, and then I take my phone out and I take pictures of the pictures in the photo album, and then I text people and I go, oh my god, remember this? And then all of a sudden 4 hours has passed,
same.
and I'm like, it's time for bed, and there's a mountain of clothes on my
Yeah.
bed. So that's why I need to get.
There's a
somebody
mountain of clothes on my bed right now from that very reason. I decided to clean out my closet because I have this new policy I enacted that for every one thing that comes into the house, one thing has to go out. So I pulled everything out of the closet and then got 3 things deep into it, and the next thing I know, it's 2 days later. And I'm like, what? Because I'm like, oh my god, I was worried. Oh my, I remember this. Or I find it like a receipt in a pocket, and the next thing I know, I'm back there.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know what would go well with this feeling? Rum.
Yeah. For a while, I got really good at just if I have not worn this or even seen this item, I'm not going to it's just gone. Like, I'm getting rid
too.
of this. But
Like, you mean it's gone, like you'll throw it out?
yeah,
I
or
thought you meant it's just
donate
gone
it.
from your memory.
No, but it is, obviously. But like sometimes there would be, because like when I first moved in, there were a lot of boxes that I didn't unload for quite a long time in my closet. And so for a while, I was just like getting rid of those boxes or whatever. And then I opened one box, big mistake, because I'm like, oh my God, that's where that thing is. And now I'm back to not being able to let anything go.
I really wanted, I became obsessed with getting a very thin, like puffy, not vest, but like a puffy jacket that can go like under a jean jacket or whatever, like when it's colder climates. And I was like, I researched them. I found one that's a good price. I was getting ready to buy it. I found that same jacket that I bought 3 years ago with the price tag still on it in my closet. If something is not immediately worn or used, it goes into this realm where I can't see it anymore.
I hate to tell you, you have ADHD. 100% confirmed. Because that is me too, where it's like, I'll buy something because I'm like, oh, I need this thing. And then I go to buy something and I like look on Amazon. It's like last purchase 2022. And I'm like, I have this? Like,
Yeah.
and it's something that I needed at the time, but because I'm so avoidant to like, the impulse is to buy something, and that gives you the dopamine, right? And it's usually not even stuff that I'm like, ooh, this will be fun to have. It's I need that thing. But then when the boxes come, I don't want to open
I can't
them.
open them either. Like they'll sit there until I feel. I have a renter in the house, so that helps me. But I'm like, I'll just walk around stuff and be like a painting that I really wanted. Like I chased a painting around Europe for like 6 years, got it, and didn't open the box for 3 months. The casing for the box, this was 2 years ago. The casing in the box I removed from the living room like 3 months ago.
Yeah.
It's been sitting there the whole time, and I'm like, well, I can't possibly take this somewhere else. I don't know what to do with this big box, so I just left it.
I've been using the valet key for my car for fucking 5 months because the clicker thing on my key the key fell out of the clicker thing. And so I have a half super glued together clicker thing and my valet key on my car keys. But I have 2 replacement keys sitting on the table behind my couch.
Yeah.
And all I have to do is just reprogram them and go get the keys carved out. But
the lights in
I'm
my
not gonna do
bathroom
that.
shorted out during the pandemic. And I only have the shower light and a lamp that's sitting on the vanity. I have 2 other bathrooms. I just go in there.
Yeah.
And also this one, I don't have to deal with wrinkles or like aging. I look the same as I ever did.
If I can't
So
see
you
the
don't want
problems,
me to come fix it.
if I can't see the problems,
I
nobody else
need to
can.
have it fixed, but before I do that, I have to clean the shower. So it's.
We were talking about.
I'm not saying that I do have ADHD. I'm just saying that. So my GP is a bro. Like he is a 5'4" Indian American guy who I'm sure was shat on growing up in Los Angeles and wants to be just a bro. You know what I mean? I feel it. You want to belong, and if you are anything other than what is mainstream or what you think is mainstream, then you there's an impetus as a child to push that down. And so like when I got a prostate exam, he called me bro during it. And
So GP is your doctor.
General practitioner.
Yeah, general
Oh,
practitioner.
gotcha.
Yeah. So I told him that I may have
It's not
ADHD.
gay papa.
Yeah, it's not gay papa.
Like, why are you calling me bro?
That's GPA and not gay Pennsylvania. So I went in for my prostate exam, and it wasn't during it, but it was right before. I said, I'm really uncomfortable. And he's like, I'm not exactly comfortable either, bro. My doctor told me this, right?
It's like, out of everybody in the room, you should be the most comfortable.
That's the title of this episode.
So I went in and told him, I was like, does ADHD increase as you get older? And he said, no. And I'm like, well, I'm feeling an increasing sense of avoidance, anxiety. I am having problems organizing tasks, and I get overwhelmed very easily. Like I was very overwhelmed today in the car. Mm-hmm. And I was like, but I've taken Adderall recreationally, I'll admit everything I've done. And it got me like fucked up, like in the best way possible.
Yeah.
I'm not suggesting this, or I'm not a role model. And he was like, oh, then you don't have it. Just shut it down. And so I just believed that I didn't. And then more and more people are coming up to me, especially after I appear on stage. And they're like, are you sure? Because I have this little bottle of pills that I take. And I'm like, no, I'm totally fine. And then you and I started talking about it. And you're like, well, that's an ADHD thing. That's an ADHD thing. ADHD. Is that what?
ADHD.
ADHD.
Yeah, you have it so bad you can't even complete
Christ.
the fucking.
What is wrong with me? Or what is right with me?
Yeah, I mean, I don't like. That's the thing too, is I don't think that anybody who has ADHD or is even on the spectrum doesn't necessarily mean there's something wrong with you. It's just that there are different ways that you have to manage your life, and there are different things that you are stronger at or weaker at. Everybody has fucked up issues. It's not just people with neurodivergence. But yeah, you definitely have ADHD.
But the things that never fall by the wayside are the things that can't. Like the mortgage is always paid, the car payment's paid. Anything to do with money, because I've had negative experiences with that, like letting things go. I went through a bad depression in 2007 that lasted for almost 2 years. I didn't even know it. I was so depressed. And the positive thing is I just got a notification from the California Comptroller's office that I have $8,000 in expired checks. The bad thing is, and that's like bonus, mental health bonus. The bad thing is, like, my landlord threatened to kick me out during that time. Like everything fell into disrepair. Like I was fucking Mrs. Havisham. Like I couldn't do anything. And so now I'm like, I'm so afraid of things crumbling that, like, my bathroom is a disaster, but the living room is nice.
Yeah.
Like anything that you can see is fine. I always make my planes. I used to have a big problem with that. In 2015, I missed 16 flights. And that starts to look unstable to people who are hiring you.
Yeah.
I mean, I always made it where I was going. And it's not because I was having the best time ever. It would be because I can't. How am I going to be able to do all these things? And
I find it really easy to do things quickly and efficiently for other people. Like the second you asked for a little help on the travel thing, it's like I immediately went to research that. If it were my own trip, it would take forever for me to take the initiative to do something. Or it's like even cleaning up the living room or putting like my dining room table collects things that need to go upstairs to my room. And a lot of times I just forget to take it when I go up. But it's like, that's when I'll invite Stan over or something. Because if somebody's coming over, then I'm going to clean up. And it's like, I'll do things because other people are involved, but I won't do it for me because I'm like, oh, whatever. I mean, it doesn't bother me.
That's interesting because almost without fail, when somebody is sitting at my kitchen island, I will start cleaning up the refrigerator or I'll do the dishes that are in the sink. It feels normal to do it, and I'm not stressed out by it.
When somebody's there with you, you're saying that's body doubling, which is like a real thing where like.
That's what body doubling. It sounds sexy.
It's I don't know the exact definition, but it's basically like it's easier for you to get tasks done when somebody else is there and they're not helping you. They're just in the room.
That's what it is.
Perceiving you or watching you do the things or just existing in the space. Yeah. It's why a lot of people do like they now go on TikTok live if they have to write a paper or clean their house or whatever. They just turn the live on because that's their way of manipulating it so that they can be body doubling without a real person.
I'm not sure that
involved.
would work for me. I need somebody there.
Yeah, I do too.
I didn't even know that was a thing until now.
Yeah. But that always works for me. It either works really well for me or I'm like, ooh, my friend's here. Do you want a drink?
Yeah, but I'm drinking while I'm doing this.
Yeah.
I'm drinking while I'm doing the dishes. I mean, that's how I've said before. That's how
body doubling is a productivity strategy that's well known within the ADHD community. The notion behind the strategy is that the presence of another person improves your ability to focus. This nearby person is a body double, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, God, I've got the ADHD.
Essentially, having people around you cultivates a sense of soft accountability that pulls you into the task at hand and away from distracting thoughts. If you've ever worked at a coffee shop, a library, an office, or in any other public space, you've likely experienced a form of body. Oh, so that's interesting, too, is that the reason the people that go to a coffee shop is because you can't get yourself to do the task.
I read scripts in bars.
Yeah.
Like, I'll just go there and sit there, and it helps me focus on the thing. Also, reading a book with a television on. Kim Rhodes, who plays Sheriff Jody Mill on Supernatural, you were right. Kim was diagnosed with ADHD a couple of years ago, and it's changed her life because she understands herself a lot more. And so she started to do this to me, like I'm totally unprovoked. Honey, come over here. Come over here, talk to me for a second. Yeah. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, I think that's the thing. There are a lot of people who struggle with diagnoses later in life because there are some people who feel like this is some sort of thing against them or whatever. But then also some people struggle where it's like, fuck, if I had known this, like I wouldn't have felt like a failure my entire life.
Here's the other thing that I think is a big, it's the fact that a lot of parents see this behavior and call their children lazy. Mm-hmm. And that was, I've been called lazy my whole life.
Yep.
And it's not my parents' fault. They were dealing with the information that they got, and I hold nobody responsible. You can't retroactively punish people when there's new thought or new ideas, mm-hmm. right? But I was called that. And so the thing is, I can also talk myself out of any of this stuff in the same way that my doctor did so easily, because I'm successful. Mm-hmm. Like, I've done some things, Kelly, mm-hmm. like to come from where I've come from, and I'm not sucking my own dick.
Because he can't.
I've tried.
He would, but he can't.
I really would. I wouldn't be here right now.
Can't. I'm busy.
And so I know that I'm capable of doing things. I do them all the time.
Of course.
Like, I've defied some odds here. But like, something has always had to fall by the wayside. And I've just gotten so used to that. I'm like, well, of course everything's in disarray because this is so good.
Well, that's part of ADHD too, is that you're able to hyper focus on tasks that you find particularly interesting or beneficial to you.
Or that you have to do.
Or that you, that you,
there'll be consequences
that you must
are too great.
do. Yeah. But the laziness thing comes from people whose brain just operates the way that it's supposed to, where it's like the tasks that to an ADHD brain are so fucking boring. There's no dopamine that comes from these tasks. And so it's like, I don't want to do that thing because it's executive dysfunction, or you're avoidant to these tasks because you don't get any dopamine from it. Your brain goes,
is that what it is?
Yeah. You're like, I don't fucking care about this thing. Whereas other people, when their brain is properly fucking measured in the way that it's supposed to, you go, oh, I'm going to do the dishes because there are dishes in this.
Is
sink.
that why I like taking Adderall? Because I get so much dopamine from it?
Yeah, and Adderall helps you focus on things that need to get done.
I'm not addicted to Adderall. I'm just talking about my experiences with it. I just want to qualify for that. I mean, here's the thing. I don't have to prove anything to you. You clearly
who cares if you are?
clearly know what I'm like.
Yeah.
I love things that feel good.
Yeah.
But not to my detriment and not to your detriment. But this feels like an ADHD conversation. But here's the thing. I don't want to. There's also a part of yourself, and I don't know if this is for everybody, but once somebody tells me this and I believe it, I don't want to become a boring storyteller. I like the fact that my stories have subplots, and I always get where I'm going. I'm a great storyteller, and I don't want to get to a place where I'm like this. And then on the 14th of July, 17,000 people were killed in Prussia. And then we all went to McDonald's. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So you're saying that would be the reason to
I'm
not
worried about
use
losing
medication?
myself because
I was worried about that too.
I only know myself.
I took forever to get any type of medication because I thought I was gonna get medicated for depression, and I was like, I don't want to not be funny, or I don't want to lose my personality and all that stuff. And medication didn't work for me, but for most people, I think you're able to just like your personality is not necessarily gonna change.
Okay. I mean, I don't know all this stuff. So, I mean, I've never had the conversation with any medical professional about it because, first of all, I didn't think it was an issue. And then when I thought it could be an issue, I was shut down. And, you know, there's so many reasons that roadblocks that we put up for, and I could see it in other people all the time. Like, you know, some people who are like, outline their problems. I'm like, well, the things are kind of right there, but it's very hard to see for yourself. And you know, and men will do this. I'm worried that taking this medication will make my dick stop working and all that stuff. And some of it does, right? I mean, I feel like I'm not worried about that at all. I feel like my dick has served me well. It's had a long and useful life. I'm kind of done with it.
We can take it out in the back and shoot it.
No, I want to. I like to still keep it, but I've done some things with it, and so I'm like, I'm okay.
Yeah.
I would rather.
Plus, your favorite sex position is sit over there.
Yeah, you
so
go sit
it's
over
like,
there.
what do you need it
I would
for?
rather be able to not live in this torment, because it is. If you think about it, it actually is torment because but you become used to it because I don't know anything better. But I would love, like, I was so overwhelmed when you picked me up today, and just you suggesting you should just ask Ty if he could do it, and he was like, of course, I'm right on it. But just even that becomes a thing. I don't want to fucking have to tell somebody else to do something I should be able to do. But I'd give myself no credit for the fact that my schedule's completely changed. Also, I have an object permanence thing. If I think something has happened or is happening and it doesn't happen, like, I get shook for my brain has to come to terms with it. Yeah. And like, if you're in the house and I think you're somewhere else and you show up behind me, it scares me for like 35 minutes. Yeah. Like, and somebody else told me that object permanence thing. Was it you that told me that is a thing where you're like, things are this way, and then when they're not that way, it's like, but things are this way.
Yeah. I mean, I think you and I both struggle with asking for help because we want to be able to handle everything. But
I'd like to push the button in the elevator.
There are many things that you easily could get taken off of your plate, whether it's through me or Ty or something like that it's like I said, it's easy for me to help other people. I can get on that thing right away. And it's
you
like,
should
I
try
don't mind
asking
doing
me
it.
for something every now and then, see if I bet it's easy for me too. Like,
but if I asked you for help on something, you go, don't ask me that. I'm famous.
No, I wouldn't. No, but if you're like, do you know where to find this or anything like that? Like, I love looking at that stuff. Like, I've found so many people their engagement ring stones, but picking out my own wedding rings was a fucking torturous process. Like, what's the millimeter width of this? What's the gold weight?
Because for the things that you have to do for yourself are really practical, where when it's for somebody else, there's a bit of whimsy in it because you get to be really imaginative
and a fairy god person.
And like, you get to impress them. Like, you're not going to impress yourself with the things you find because you already know your breadth of knowledge in those types of things. Whereas, like, you could send somebody a bunch of rings and they'd be like, "Oh my god, this is amazing!" And you would get that dopamine hit from their. I found my
friends she got married for a second time, and they're in love, and it's the right relationship for her. It took such pleasure. Like, I was in New York City, and I went to the Diamond District, and that day was so fun finding her stone for the price that they could afford. The best example of that. I know quite a bit about gemstones and diamonds because stereotypes are true. And then helping her design it, saying, I think the band should be flatter, not knife edged. Like, all that stuff was very fun, and she loved it. So I'm sure that must have given me the biggest dopamine rush.
There's almost an aspect of that's like gamifying your life in a certain way, because this is a mission you're on. Like, pretend you're in a video game where it's like the mission is to find these people an engagement ring, and you're like, we have to go to the Diamond District, and you have to talk to this guy, and you have to collect these stones and all of that stuff. And that is another thing where it's like, if we can figure out, like, same thing you were talking about with setting timers and all that stuff, it's like, can you beat the timer to get the dishes done and all that stuff? So finding those little things that you can adjust where it's like, it will give you the rush. Or
there's no game in the world that's going to make me want to clean that shower. No game in the world.
Well, I got the new shower head that I got in my bathroom that Isaac installed. It's got this little button on the top of it so you've got the regular, stuff that comes out the bottom, but then you click this button.
What's the regular stuff? The water?
Just the regular
stream of
water
okay.
on the bottom. But then you click a button on the top, and there's a it's a consolidated stream.
Like
that
a hose
comes out
pipe?
the top it's like a strong hose. And so now after every shower, because my floor gets coated in like conditioner and becomes slippery or whatever, and so I just spray the shower and get all of that stuff off. And so, like, finding those types of things too, where it's like every time you do something, you can help yourself by doing just a little bit of the task at a time.
So I will squeegee my shower doors because our water stains are pretty crazy here.
Yeah.
Because our water stains my counters. Like, it is, we probably shouldn't be drinking it. Although I do. But
that's why you have ADHD.
Yeah, I'm suing LA County for $7.5 billion.
My brain has hard water stains.
And so does my soul. I don't remember what we were talking about.
Exactly.
Exhibit A, the defense rests your honor.
Yeah, I think.
Fuck, I had something to say. What were we talking about? Hard water stains, bathroom. Oh, yeah. So part of my problem, though, is not my fault. No, let me tell you why that is.
Hear me out.
Let me tell you why that is. The house stuff. So I bought new construction, and so much of that shit was wrong. So the grating in my shower is wrong. It's also way too big. It's too long. So the back half of it just collects dirt and hair. It never gets wet. My shower thingy is a rain head shower, so the only way to get water over it is to cup it in your hand, and then it runs out the fucking shower because it's not graded toward the thing. And also a lot of my towels are cracked because the grading was wrong. So it's not one thing, it's 17.
You only have a rain shower head?
In my shower, yeah.
How do you handle that?
Well, I just get into it and it gets me wet, and then I get out.
Ugh. The water pressure is not good enough on those, but also yes. I feel like I'm being waterboarded when I'm under those.
Oh, I love it.
I need the angle where it's like I can move my head away, where it's that's just.
I like having a lot of liquid come at my face, and
Ayo.
But so what I mean is, I inherited a bunch of problems like with this house, and 95% of it's fine, but the 5% that's fucked is in my master bathroom. So it's not just one thing to fix. It's not just cleaning the shower. It's not just getting the lights back on. It's the tiles the floor has to come up. The bathroom needs to be completely redone.
Yeah.
I probably should just pay somebody $30,000 to just come over and do the whole thing. I'll stay with you. It'll be great. You'll love it.
Yeah, you could stay with me. That's perfect. I can also bring over a power washer.
But also the problem with that is, no, you can't go in there. The problem is, you have to be present for construction in your house. You have to be there every day to make sure things aren't fucked up. But also, I have a problem telling people when they're fucking up. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings.
Mm-hmm. I know. I'm the same way, where I'm like, I'll just fix that later. But if you're spending a hefty amount of money, then
maybe Ty can come down here and move back in with me for a while. Because Ty lived
he
solely
could be the
with me
project
for
manager.
like 3 years.
Or what I found is what helps is in those situations, you could have the conversation before the work even starts. It's like, hey, I have a really hard problem with confrontation, especially when it comes to people's work. So like, for instance,
I do have a podcast.
For instance, like my tattoo artist that I love, it was the first woman that I had been to as a tattoo artist. And I found that the difference between going to the men that I had before and the woman was with the men, they'd ask what I wanted, and then they'd do the design, and they go, okay, are you ready to go? And there was no opportunity. Whereas with her, I don't know how she comes up with the visuals from what I tell her, but then she presents me with something that's like almost perfect to what I was saying. But then the specific question she asked, she goes, what do you want to change? And just the way she asked that question gives me permission to change something.
Right.
And she goes, and I'm like, no, I love it. And she's like, there's got to be something in here that isn't like perfect for you, you know? And so she pries to ask these questions. And so like, for instance, with the captain, it's like we changed the symbol in his hat to be a crab since I'm a Cancer. And it's like, it was really minuscule changes. But the fact that she asked me, what do you want to change, instead of, do you like it? Or are you ready to put this on your body forever?
Because you're like, do you like it? Well, of course I love it. You just drew it. Oh,
yeah. None of my other tattoos before her, I changed even a single bit, even though they weren't necessarily like.
I love being tattooed by a woman.
Yeah.
Also,
she's the best.
I find the sitting time a little easier for some reason.
Because I'm not being fondled.
I mean, yeah, and it's not like that pillow on the internet where his dick grows. I do. My last 2 tattoos. No, that's not true. The last one I got and the one before that were women, and then I had a man who was a great guy who I like a lot, who's in Maine. It's a gorgeous tattoo. It's that one, the soul of man. Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah.
The line work on that's insane. Come to my house, I'll show you.
But not in his bathroom.
But not my No one can go in there.
I know.
But here's the thing. It's bad to me because also I have very high standards for things. But I could go to anybody's house and there could be a decomposing body on the floor, and as long as I got a place to sit down, I don't give a fuck.
That's exactly how
I
am
my own
too.
things.
Yeah.
Like if things don't present exactly how I think that I want you to perceive them, then I get in my head about it, and then I'm not having a good time.
Yeah. But
I'm like, let's go out. I'll buy you something that costs $3,000. Do you want something that costs $3,000?
I think the flip side of that is like, when you allow somebody to come into your space when it's not perfect, it really shows the relationship there and how much you trust that person's not going to judge you and all of that stuff. So like I've felt pretty good about myself when I've gone to people's houses and their house was completely in disarray, because I'm like, oh, you didn't feel like I was the person that was going to come in here and talk shit about you. And like, that is a good feeling.
I don't want to be vulnerable in front of people.
Yeah, that's really scary.
I'm going to be naked in front of somebody this year. That's my resolution for the first time.
It's going to be on the podcast, but it's on the Patreon. You can check it out, patreon.com/loadedpod. It'll be in May.
See, that's what good marketing is, S99.
Okay, I don't know how we're doing on time, but we did get some emails.
33.
Okay, so this one says, hey, y'all. So lately, things at work have gotten much worse, mainly with my boss. She is favoring certain employees and treating the hardest working employees the worst, me being one of them. We have tried confronting her about it, and she just brushes it off, makes excuses, and continues the behavior. Many of us are becoming increasingly frustrated. Any advice on different approaches to the situation? Thank you for bringing so much light and positivity into the world. Love y'all, Reagan. By the way, this is from Reagan.
Oh, I know Reagan.
Reagan made us buttons.
Oh, yeah.
She made ask me for unqualified advice button with you
that.
dressed in your 1800s garb. She made 4 buttons for Rhino. She's sending them to me.
And Reagan, apologies for the last podcast, because the last episode, because it was not uplifting for the first 20 minutes of it. That's a tough one.
It is tough.
But I think it's probably common because the squeaky wheel gets the oil, right? Mm-hmm. And the people who are performing, it's like, well, of course you're performing. You're my menches. You're supposed to be doing this. And the people who aren't, it's like, well, God, these people might as well work for S99 marketing. They can't do it. We'll have to do it for them. Come on, people who all work with me. We're going to put our noses to the grindstone and stay here until 7 o'clock in the morning because these motherfuckers can't do it. No offense, S99 marketing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know what you mean. Yeah, maybe the advice is do worse at work. Definitely do not go to HR.
Yeah. Don't
ever go to HR.
Yeah.
HR is not there to help you.
They're there to tell on you.
They're there to tell on you, and you will get fired. It's crazy.
Yeah, they'll find a way around it.
Yeah.
Being unhappy at work is hard, man.
It's kind of a rite of passage.
A lot of my cameos are about I'm unhappy at my job. I don't know what to do. I mean, I'm of the mindset, just as a life mindset, that your number one responsibility to yourself in life is to make sure that you're okay, that you can provide for yourself, and a job doesn't have to be in any way a vocation. It can be a avocation. It can be a vocation, just to get you to point A to point B, and then you'll start thinking, okay, how can I get out of this? But anything rash you can't do. You have to make sure that you are okay, because once you're in, you never want to be in a position where you're making decisions out of desperation, and if you can get your mindset to be like this. Fuck these people. Fuck you and fuck you and fuck you and also fuck you too. I will do this job and shut my mouth. But at some point, the moment the hatch pops open and I'm able to leave, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
But also, I think corporate America is wise to that. It's the reason why things have gotten so fucking expensive and you can't afford a house, because if you've got skin in the game, if you have somewhere else to go, if you have resources, you have choices.
Yeah.
And they want you not to have choices, so you can't leave.
I mean, it is interesting that you talk about like the corporate role, like they're becoming hip to this idea, or whatever. But that's what's crazy to me, because we're also becoming hip to the idea that the companies don't care about us.
They don't.
So my thing now would be, don't do anything more than the job that you're supposed to do. You can't get fired for just doing your job duties. So going above and beyond is out the window now, because people are not getting rewarded for it.
Right.
Also, like, when people give in their 2 weeks notice, a lot of companies now are just firing them right away, or saying like, oh, okay, we don't need you for the next 2 weeks. So fuck 2 week notices.
Yeah.
Like,
you owe these people nothing.
The company will fire you and you'll be gone that day. You don't owe them more loyalty
or use every
than they
part
owe
of your
you.
energy
It's like
in life without rewarding you for
any
it.
company that says we're a family here, run.
Yeah.
Because
you're in a cult.
You obviously, they treat their family really badly. So don't give the company more loyalty than you're receiving from them, and just try to just treat it like work. Don't take anything home. Don't take any of the pressure of that home. Just go do the things you need to do for your job role, and hopefully you can get a new job. But I know the job market's tough.
It's really tough. I think find some coping skills in there, and I think that's good advice. Do drugs in the bathroom. Do what you have to do. You can't do that. They don't like it.
Bring Christmas crack.
Tried it. They don't like it. They really don't like it.
They really don't like it.
I remember years ago, I overheard a producer say this, and this really was shocking to me, but now I realize it's kind of a pervasive thought. He was talking about the last project that he worked on, and they ran out of money, and so he sent emails to all of the PAs, production assistants, saying, I'm going to have a hard time paying you your overtime, so you just have to give me some grace on that, but I'll write you all sort of like promissory notes or whatever. And he said that a young, eager female PA wrote him back, responded to his email, and said, you don't have to pay me. I'm just happy for the experience. And then he said this, and I quote, that dumb bitch thinks I'm going to remember that. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, the world is evil.
Yeah. Never volunteer your time.
No.
Ever.
And I think that it's also just a psychological thing. If somebody's helping you in a professional realm, you have to pay them something because you want to prove that you value their time. Mm-hmm. Also, it gives them that little bit extra, even if it's, a pittance of what they usually make, it gives you something extra to work for.
Yeah. And it's also, it psychologically teaches that person that you don't value yourself enough. Like,
that's interesting.
Especially like in relationships, right? You have women who are in these relationships where they let the guy get away with everything, and you think that by being the cool girl who like doesn't get upset about certain things that you'll be rewarded with loyalty and all of this stuff. That's not how it works.
Like, I can fuck around on you and you won't even say a word, or won't even
care.
know.
Yeah, exactly. So
I have a flip side on that.
Yeah.
Professionally, like if I get hired to do photography, if you can't pay me my full rate, I'll either decide to do it for free or I just won't do it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know what that's. So I feel like I have more control. Like if you don't want to pay me my full thing, then I just get to decide if I want to give it to you or
it's
not.
just, I often find though, is that even in those situations, like the jobs that pay me the least are usually the most trouble. Like, it's like, okay, so this is a passion project. We only pay you this, but we'll need you to drive 300 miles each way to work every day.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like, and I'm like, or like I give them that and they're like, oh, and one other thing.
Yeah.
You have to be tarred and feathered in this scene.
Yeah.
Like, and we just added this, and we're not going to pay you for it.
It's like with everything. You give somebody an inch and they take
Yeah.
a mile, and it's like, okay, I was doing a favor initially, and now this feels like I've gotten myself into a situation that I owe you something when I'm not getting paid at all. I mean, I think it's fair for you to do whatever you want with your if you find that it affords you more business in the future with that goodwill. But also, why can't they afford your full rate? Or is it just at the quote?
It's in some cases it's like, oh, this is a comedian that can't afford it. In other cases it's like, I know that if this gets more than I want it to be, I can just shut it. If I don't take any money for it, I can just be like, well, I'm out.
Yeah.
See, I can't do that. So I have a hard time setting boundaries. Once I said I'll be there, like once my quotes, I got 2 offers on the same day and the quotes got mixed up. So I took what I thought was a movie that paid $25,000 for a week, right? It was a lot of money. And then, but I wound up accepting a movie that paid $125 a day.
Holy shit.
But I agreed to do it, and I agreed on a Friday. But the only I had a wedding that was in conflict, so I was like, you have to rearrange the schedule so I could be there that week, and they did. And the next day, my management called me and like, we've messed up the quote. Somehow the emails got messed up, and I probably had some part in that too because I was on a train, and I don't think I've ever been sober on a train, and I think it's against the law. But I accepted the part and then did it because I said that I would. So once I say I'll do something, it has to be my fucking opus every time, or I feel like I'm cheating the people even when they're not paying me well.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm dragging behind me. So I know myself well enough to know that I have to learn when to say no, or just when I need to just do this. Okay, I've said I'll do this. I just have to get through it, and then I'll try not to do this again, But also, my jobs have endings on them. Our jobs have endings on them. This situation is a job. A real job makes you go there every day.
I know. That's what I heard.
Yep. Did you know that?
Disgusting.
They don't tell you that.
They sure don't.
And so I'm sure that could feel really bleak to be in a situation
sure.
that you feel like you can't get out of.
Yeah. And
Have you thought about doing drugs at work?
Oh, now it's a good idea coming from you.
Because a man said it.
So it says, hi, DJ and Kelly. I've been listening to your podcast for a while now, and I really value the advice you give. I'm in a bit of a mess with my friend, and I could use your perspective. Recently, my best friend and I had a huge fight over something that seemed small but escalated quickly. I felt hurt by some things they said, and when I expressed my feelings, it turned into a major argument. My friend later mentioned that their therapist agreed with them about the situation. Fucking asshole. Which left me feeling really confused. I can't help but wonder how their therapist could see their side but not mine. Now I'm feeling conflicted, and I don't want to lose my friend, but I also don't want to feel like I'm in the wrong when I believe I was justified in my feelings.
I 1000% promise you that this was editorialized to the
Your
therapist.
friend lied to their therapist.
No, not lied. They probably thought they were telling the fucking truth, because especially if you can't have an honest conversation with your friend, then clearly they're not open to that sort of communication. So they probably interpreted what happened, and they probably believe it. And so they told their therapist, you know what this motherfucker did?
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people are very unreliable narrators, and their therapists are not mind readers. They can only go based off of the information that they're given. So
take that with a large grain of salt.
In all actuality, your friend did not share your perspective whatsoever.
I promise you they didn't say this. Well, this happened, and then this happened, and I was wrong about that.
Yeah.
But then they said this. They came at me full force when I just tried to say this, and then I was like, but that's wrong. And they were like, oh, this motherfucker again. That was probably their interpretation of that. Always with the this.
When I was in therapy, I'd be showing screenshots of like full conversations with people. So then I said this, and then they said this. She's like, Kelly, you need to stop blaming yourself for everything.
And I believe that. I really believe that about you. You don't editorialize stories. Ty doesn't editorialize stories. I try not to, but I'm a storyteller. That's my nature.
Well, to me, it doesn't give me any good feeling to have somebody agree with me based on something that is a lie or not the entire truth.
It doesn't help you at all.
It's like catfishing, right? Like if I'm going to catfish and pretend that I'm Megan Fox and somebody gives me compliments about how hot I am, that doesn't fill me with confidence. You know, it's like, so that's the same thing. It doesn't make sense for me to editorialize stories because for the most part, I genuinely am only ever asking advice or telling a story about something because I want to know a way to proceed with it, not to win the argument.
Yeah, you're right. A lot of times when I'll be telling a story, I'll be like this. Oh, I'll be right back. I need to make a call. You know what I mean? It's like, oh fuck. I remember years ago, somebody said something about Miley Cyrus that I thought was funny. I think it was Kelly Clarkson said something, and you're like, but Miley Cyrus, this, and I'm like, oh, you're right. Miley Cyrus is kind of dope. Do you know what I mean? But it was like something I didn't even think about, but I'd formed an opinion on, and I was like, and I remember that. And it's because she was on What Happens Live, and she tweeted during the thing, "Pitchy stripper," during the AMAs, American Music Awards or whatever, and she was like, I did not say that was Miley Cyrus, but clearly it was about her. And I thought it was hilarious, and I thought the interplay was hilarious. But then I was like, well, she is kind of pitchy, and you're like, no, she wails. She's kind of the voice of a generation, or whatever. And we talked about this, and I'm like, you're kind of right. I also have no beef with Miley Cyrus, so why am I even, you know what I mean? And I was just like, so then I called Miley Cyrus and apologized.
Did she take it well?
She told me to fuck off. First of all, she said, "Who is this?"
She called me a pitchy stripper.
Who is this?
How'd you get this number?
Yeah.
And what are you doing in my house? Yeah. I like Miley Cyrus a lot.
So do I.
Yeah, we'll talk about her other beef with Kelly Clarkson on the Patreon. You guys can check us out on Patreon, patreon.com/loadedpod. Follow us on TikTok, or maybe not. Who knows? Does it exist anymore? You guys tell us. You're in the future. We're back here in the past. At loadedpod. Email us, probablyloadedpod@gmail.com, or call us 323-272-3908.
Bye.
Bye.
Sit on down and pour yourself a glass.
And tune into your favorite podcast.
Where things will be misquoted.
And opinions ain't sugar-coated.
'Cause DJ and Kelly are locked and probably loaded.